Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the award winning Recovery Podcast, Get in the Herd, brought to you by the McShin Foundation. My name is Nathan Mitchell. I am your co host today with the inestimable John Shinholzer over here.
Here we go
I love
again,
it.
man. Yep,
Here we
yep.
go again.
Live from McShin in Richmond, Virginia. Good to
Woohoo!
see you folks out there today. We have a very special guest. Nathan, tell us about our guest today.
Well, today we do have a special guest. Returning to the herd, we have Lela Graham. Lela Graham out in Montana. Last time we saw you, you were here talking recovery, talking McShin, all that good stuff. Now you're here telling us that you're running for House of Representatives in Montana, for the Montana House of Representatives in the 21st District. Tell us, Lela, welcome to the show. What's going on?
Hey, I'm so happy to be back. I decided to run in the fall for this district. I grew up in Great Falls. Well, listen, I moved back. I was living in Missoula and moved back home. This is where I grew up. This is my hometown. All my family live here for generations. So I moved here, bought a house. Thank God for the VA loan. It's also across the street from my rival high school, which.
Let me just jump in here because I'm that kind of guy. I'm a Marine, so you know how Marines get around them Army dogs. You know, it's a whole different dynamic. But just briefly, your journey. You got a recovery journey. Just briefly touch on your recovery journey.
So I was living in Virginia. I went to UVA, and I drank a lot in college, walk into the rooms early on in 2006 and tried to get clean for a very, very long time. Got really, you know the stories got really progressive.
Right. But you an Army veteran, right?
I'm an Army veteran. I served in 95 to 2001. And then I went to the University of Virginia.
That's Mr. Jefferson's University for those that aren't familiar with UVA.
Mr. Jefferson's University. Right. My diploma's on the wall.
There you go. You a smart girl, man. You one of them smart people.
Plus my Army Military Intelligence Corps stuff. I was in the Army, and so that was cool. And then went to UVA. After graduation, I worked in politics for 12 years.
So briefly, you have a substance use disorder. You're recovering from it. You came to McShin, and then you heard about, look, if you want change out there, be the change you want to see. And then I know you got involved in advocacy.
I did. I'm the state lead for RAP. I did the last couple of years of Mobilize. I didn't go in person. This year I was coming out of a treatment for the PTSD at the VA. So I didn't go down to Vegas this year, even though I was invited. So did that. Just do a lot of advocacy, just lobbying, and we're working on, getting regulations for sober living facilities here in Montana, more access to Narcan.
So the bottom line, the point I'm trying to make is you're a strong recovering person. You see a lot of change needs to take place. You constantly hear us say, look, recovery people need to jump in the arena and start running for office. And here you are, fast forward. You said, by God, I can do this. I know about recovery. I know about the issues. And it's time that we make change and be the change we want to make. So for that, I congratulate you.
So one of the things happened like 3 years ago. I asked a couple of elected officials who in the state is the recovery advocacy team, lobbyists, who does substance use recovery advocacy, and I got a lot of blank stares. I'm like, well, I guess that's gonna be me, because if no one's out here, that's that has to
you become the chosen one, so that's a good hit.
Or
right there,
self-appointed, but because somebody has to do it, and because they want to. So that's that started the journey, and then of course RAP started, and kind of all worked out to.
That's super exciting. Nathan, just touch on RAP nationwide. What states are doing, what the nation's doing.
Sure. It is. Yeah, actually, I'm glad you said recovery housing. So RAP is for those who don't know, it's the Recovery Advocacy Project, and I believe there are 40 now state affiliates, or 35, 40 state affiliates now. Here in Virginia, we've got a pretty robust platform that not only encompasses, opioid abatement authorities, cannabis authority that we have now here in Virginia, all the things, harm reduction, barrier crimes, et cetera, et cetera. We are also talking recovery housing here as well. And one thing that I find really, really encouraging this year, we've taught, John and the work that VAR, the Virginia Association of Recovery Residents, has done over the last few years, has really established a credentialing body here in Virginia to ensure the safety of the participants, in those houses. And so now we're going that next step, and we're trying to ensure that any licensed body by the Commonwealth of Virginia is only utilizing certified recovery residences, which, seems like it would make sense, and yet we're still getting a little pushback. But thinking about that, it makes total sense. Not only are we certified by Virginia, we get funding. VAR gets a little bit of funding, a little bit of very hard worked for funding from the Commonwealth. But now we're in a position to say, hey, we have this. We can do this better than other agencies and other organizations can, and we're certified. And now we're making sure that that Virginia's keeping our people safe. So something to think about as you move forward with your advocacy.
Doesn't VAR have a line in the budget?
We do.
Yep.
Yeah, we do. Now, but Lela, let's tell me just briefly about your district. Where exactly are you at?
So my district is in the north side of Great Falls, plus a town called Black Eagle. So Black Eagle had a smelter, and actually the smelter was the largest stack in the country. It was torn down in the early 80s. It was bigger than the one in Anaconda. So it's got some work. It's not a super fun site, but it should be.
Is that pit up there in your district?
No, it's not a pit. It's a
but
open.
There's a pit up there, a big lake.
In Butte.
Real
in
polluted.
Butte.
Yeah, Butte.
In Butte.
Yeah, right.
Berkeley Pit.
Yeah,
so,
now I've been to your district, haven't I?
I know. Well, no, you went to Butte. You went to Butte. That was where the Berkeley Pit is. You came to Butte. I remember coming down. I still have the pictures.
Yeah, because you went to the training. We trained some Native American tribes for recovery support.
Yeah, in Butte, which was awesome.
Right now, does your district have a reservation or?
We have a newly federal recognized tribe that doesn't have land, but their community center and their hospital is in my district. The Little Shell, they're the last, they're newly recognized tribe from the federal government, but they don't have land, they don't have a reservation.
All right, so
or I'm not sure if that's my word. So, urban Native Americans, and there are a few.
So your district is it like how big is it? Like how many miles?
So there's only about 9,000 in my district.
Well, that's a good number.
It's a very small district. So my universe to hit is only like 4,000. So I've allocated how many doors I need to knock every day and a week, a month, because that's how I am.
So how's that going? How's the reception you're getting from people you're coming in contact with?
I've only knocked about 100 doors so far because it has been really cold. So I talk about the issues that I'm running on, healthcare, jobs, workers' rights, but if I'm talking to people, and then I can vibe something like where they want to talk about, and I will mention them, maybe not lead into it, but like eventually mention I'm a person in long-term recovery, and everyone has dropped everything they've talked about and just wanted to talk about what's going on with them. Their brother, that guy across the street, they have 16 days. They don't know what to do. Well, I mean, everyone has someone who's dealing with addiction in some capacity. And I just feel like everyone just like dropped all pretenses of what, especially if they weren't of the party that I'm running on, because I don't know. I have persuasion. I'm going to talk to everyone, right? They drop and they just want to talk to me. That's what they want to talk about. That's the issue. To me, it affects everyone. So I'm not hesitant to talk about that. I'm like running out and loud. And I'm a person in long-term recovery. My literature, John saw you mail me an envelope with, that I'm running on that. This is an issue
How much response you get from your mail out?
I've got a lot of really good response. Our district's not so wealthy, so a lot of small donors, but it matters. Everything matters. So yeah, it's
So what? Now
I'm feeling,
you've obviously been to the Capitol advocating before, correct?
yeah, absolutely.
And what do you think the number one change is if you were to be elected? Your message to the state body.
It's more for Medicaid expansion, more adding more preventive possibilities. Right. See, right now we only have limited number of okay, so we have limited numbers of providers for Medicaid for MAT. I think right now I think we have a little over 100 people who can provide MAT. And buprenorphine, actually, not just MAT, but buprenorphine, and they can only give to like 3 people. So want to increase that waiver to give more people to give MAT. The other thing is Medicaid beds for treatment facilities. Every facility can only have 12 Medicaid beds. And one of our facilities has over like 80 beds, and sometimes they have 40 beds that are open with like 100 people on a waiting list.
Right. Do you have a recovery center in your district?
I have it doesn't accept Medicaid. It is a recovery center, but it doesn't accept Medicaid. It's only private insurance. And
Do y'all have good jail programs up there?
No.
No. So that's a big hit. That they work. That's science.
They are amazing, but there's some pushback from the I've reached out many times because I know the sheriff and the undersheriff. I've grew up with them, and I've reached out, and it hasn't been that they don't, but with funding, because they had some funding issues, and with COVID, there has just been some pushback. I will continue to reach out to the sheriff and the undersheriff to get more programs, but I don't believe that it's like because he doesn't want to. I think it's just like there's so much stuff that he's doing.
They don't fully understand. A lot of these sheriffs don't understand how simple it is to add value to their facility and their program. It just takes a handful of recovering people willing to go up in there, carry the hope shot, give these people a vision and then a pathway forward. Now, do y'all have good reentry services in your district?
Yeah, they are good reentry. We have Montana has what's called pre-release, and it's still DOC, but they come out of the prison system and they go to it's kind of like a halfway house, sort of. It's different. They're still under DOC care, and they go and they work, but they have to go back to the facility, which is still kind of a jail. Right. And they have a job, they have restitution to pay. There's steps to getting out of there, and then they have a couple steps after that. So that is fairly good. They go to meetings. They're encouraged to do that, not required, because they can't require them to go to meetings.
Are there a lot of meetings in your district?
Yes. So there is so much recovery here. The one of the fellowships has meetings like 3 times a day. The one I attend only has twice a day, so we lose a lot of people. But there is groups that are based on like sober lifestyle, and there's a lot of activities. Like there's volleyball a couple times a week, and there's like skiing and like workouts in the pool. Right now that's down because of COVID. But there's a lot of stuff going on.
That's one thing we might be able to do. Send Nathan up there. We'll find a way for get Nathan up there, and y'all host a little town hall meeting and talk about how valuable recovery is.
Yeah, I would love that.
We'll do a little fundraiser for Nathan. Buy him a ticket.
That would be great. I've been to Montana once. I think I told you this, Lela. I was there for about 15 minutes as I was going from Idaho to Wyoming to what's the national park right there? Yellowstone.
Yellowstone, yeah.
And I didn't know I was going to go through Montana, and I was like, oh, cool. And I want to go back. My mom goes up there actually every couple of years to horseback ride.
Oh, cool. We love that.
Get my mom to take me. Actually, yeah.
I think that would be amazing to have something like that happen, and
I'm a firm believer in the jail programs and ensuring that we have proper reentry afterwards. Good community versus just putting people back into the old tired systems and keeping them down essentially.
We have treatment court, vet court, and treatment court.
You say vet court?
vet court. We
Yeah,
have
I'll send my dog to vet court, man. I mean,
so we have a thing called for veterans
Okay.
who need
yeah,
who,
they're
and
real popular.
it's
They are
actually a
nationwide.
co-occurring.
Yeah.
They have to be co-occurring to be admitted. So it's interesting. It's like a treatment court, but it's for veterans because
So how's the job market in your district? Is there plenty of jobs?
it's
High
still, yes,
unemployment?
tons of jobs, not
Good.
enough people. So
Yeah.
it's a booming area. And I mean, people around Montana may talk crap about Great Falls, but I am so happy to be home. I am so happy to be back. I feel that this is kind of like, I've been seeking kind of something in Missoula for a little while, but now I'm home and I'm like, yeah, I should have just come home.
Well,
So
good. Now, is your mother still alive? I know
yeah, my mother's still alive. She's living in Fairfield, but just like 35 miles northwest of here.
Okay.
So it's far enough.
So good. So what do you do for a living?
I don't. I do advocacy. I'm grateful to have a full pension from the Veterans Administration.
Oh, good for you.
So
So if you were elected, the citizens might be getting a double whammy because you could probably work longer and harder on their issues.
well, I have no job right now, so I can knock on doors. I can earn their votes. I can spend a lot more time talking to voters, or just whoever doing what people need. I don't have obligations like that. I'm still single. I don't have any kids.
So you can really work for the citizens then. That's a good hit right there.
Yeah.
That should
Yeah.
be the campaign promise right there. Look, I can work full time for you citizens on your
Full time. The legislature in Montana is a citizen legislature. We only meet once every 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, for a certain amount of like 4 months. So it's a, when the session comes on, it's like, crazy,
So you work
and
full
then
time every 2 years for 4 months. How much that pay, that position?
I'm not, because I don't really need it. I guess I think it's 120 or 112 or something like that.
A day?
You get
I'm not sure.
$126.12 per day. For additional expenses, legislators will receive a primary $3,000 stipend and a secondary amount between $1,000 and $4,000, depending on the size of the legislator's district.
Right.
Yeah.
How far are you from the Capitol?
About an hour and a half drive.
So you got to stay there, find a place to stay when you go in session. You
Yeah,
can't drive
and
back and forth.
the fort's at Helena in the fort for the VA, and there's a lot of options for veterans
Right.
that I might have that some people might have. And the recovery community in Helena is super cool. So I mean, if someone would rent me a room, I'm
There you go, putting that out there, looking for recovery houses
Yeah.
to lay up in. Well, I think that'd be super exciting if you get elected.
I'm excited, and the part of that, since I have been out running Recovery Out Loud, I have had 3 other people come to me and said that said they are also in recovery, and I'm like, fantastic. So that means we should form a recovery caucus in the legislature.
Absolutely, a lot of
Because
states are
I
starting to
know
do
there's other people who are in recovery who are just not like out loud with it. But how they feel like they can. So that's exciting. I'm like, yeah, and I'll come up and I won't cheer because I want to do other stuff. But it would be cool to get a recovery caucus in the
I know
Montana
they
legislature.
got one in Washington. There's a congressional recovery caucus. I can remember 15 years ago, I got back then it was Congressman Cantor, my congressman, which was a Republican leadership. And I got the first Republican leadership to join that caucus, which I was very proud of.
That's cool. I think he was doing that when I was running a campaign against his opponent.
He may have, but yeah, he usually won. He only lost by default down the road, but that's a different story.
Yeah, didn't he lose in the primary? He lost to Brad.
Yeah.
In the primary. Yeah.
But
the year after we ran against him.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, so I love the Recovery Caucus in Montana. That's a great idea. In the LGBTQ world, plus world, there is what's called the Victory Fund, which is a national fund that supports. Well, back in the day when I was doing that kind of work, it was lesbian and gay, but now it's LGBTQ. It's expanded, obviously, to fit the
Yeah.
to fit the mindset now. Um, but I talked to Ryan about this, and he knows about Victory Fund as well, and that's something that we could think about doing a pack here, a national pack here in the United States, obviously, and support recovery candidates all across the country, including yourself and people who are running, at the state, the local level. I think which is where the
Rap
biggest
ought to
changes.
roll that
Well,
out.
yeah, no,
Well, I
absolutely,
think
that's
that they
absolutely a good plug for
started something. I want to believe that Stuart started something like that, and I don't know if he just did it in Nevada.
Okay.
But
That's a state pack, Nevada.
okay,
We
yeah,
tried to get
yeah.
one here in
Oh,
Virginia, but we do need a
yeah, a
national.
national pack.
Yeah.
And rap ought to be the catalyst for that.
Oh, we absolutely
Yeah.
should be the driving force of that, because we have people of all, of recovery's purple. We have people of all
Mhm.
parties running now, and we have people and allies too, really good, strong allies. Like I forget her name in Washington State.
Right.
She was in the movie Tipping the Pain Scale, but and I know you're running, and there's other people too. So that's fantastic. So what made you look at this and say, hey, I need to run, and I need to run now?
Well, I was at the fort, and my group of people who I was with, there was this moment that they were talking. One of the guys that was in the room just started ranting of how awful people in recovery felt that they were entitled because they, blah blah. I don't even know what he was talking. It didn't make any sense. But I had this moment and he would talk about politics all the time, and I had this moment, and it was like a God moment. It's like, nah, I'm gonna run. I'm gonna run. This guy's gonna piss me off. So that was the moment. And he lives in Great Falls, and I'm like, well, I was really just he's he lives in Great Falls. I'm like, I was gonna move back and run just to show him. And sometimes that happens in my life. I'm like, you don't think I can? Watch me, right? So that was the moment. And then I looked at a couple of districts, a couple that I wanted, already had somebody running in, and then the other, somebody running in, and the party was like, hey, we would, we really like people who are not in, not to primary people, was want, I'm like, cool, I'll run it. And then I looked at the one I'm running against, and his name is very familiar in town. He's got, I'm not gonna say his name.
I won't say it either.
And he's a nice guy. Everyone loves him, but I'm like, I'll go for that.
Yeah.
That's.
So
I looked
what's
at the
going to
district.
what's going to make you different though? Why would the
Well, I
citizens
think
elect you?
I think the fact that I'm willing to actually talk to the voters, my understanding from my opponent is, there's certain places he'll talk to and then not. So.
So you'll talk to everybody.
Yeah, and
You'll
I
go
mean,
right into the jaws of the lion and give them your talk.
I'm like an army chick. Let me do this, right?
Right.
Like that army stuff will come out. I'm like, I worked in politics for a very long time. I know how this deal is, and I survived, death. Well, facing it, right? So like,
Right.
this is bonus. Like, if you can get through a lot of these things that we have gone through, like this stuff is easy, because it gives you meaning. The passion of it makes it easy, if that makes sense, right? So
Well, it's your mission. It's your purpose. When you find
the
your
purpose,
purpose,
like, yeah, this is your purpose, and I feel that I'm like here at the right time. Like I feel my higher power is like, this is what, this is like opening the doors. This is the will kind of thing. And it's not my ego, because I had to pray about it a lot. And I fed back to other people, and like, this is what you've wanted to do this a lot of time, and it was just self-confidence and negative tapes and whatnot held you back. But here you go.
how many legislators y'all have in the House?
There's 100 in the House.
In the Senate, how many?
50.
50?
Mm-hmm.
That's close. Virginia's got 100 in our House, but we got 40 in our Senate.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot of legislators for a small populated state.
Yeah, that's why the districts are so small, like 9,000 people. I'm
Yeah.
talking to people out there, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's." And we have really strict contribution limits in Montana. Max out is $400 per person and per cycle, and since I don't have a primary, it's only $400 per person. So it's just like requires a lot more people to give money if you need to raise it, but also it's not.
Well, you don't need much either. Small district.
Exactly. I'm not running TV. I'm running a radio ads are cheap. Just the stuff that costs more is just literature.
There's a truck driver in New Jersey. He won, and he didn't even raise money. He won a senatorial district, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, he beat a well-entrenched incumbent.
I remember. I saw that. This exactly. And did he knock, or what happened with that story?
He must have done something. Got on the CB radio or something, because I mean that was a breaker defeat. Well, back to our congressional district here, when Dave Bratt beat Congressman Canner. I mean, I think Canner had $6 or $7 million in the bank, and Dave Bratt only had a couple $100,000. I don't know what the exact numbers were, but
it was crazy. It's Goliath.
He did a job, man. He knocked on doors. He talked to people. He reassured the voter that, hey, look, when you elect me, I'm up there for you, not special interest groups. And the special interest is where the problem comes in. Your special interest is equality for everybody. Give everybody that hope.
What is the political composition of the legislature?
It is right now. It's almost a super majority. I'm sure the exact numbers, forgive me, but I know we're two. If Republicans win 2 more seats, they can opt to redo our Montana Constitution, which will take away lots of things, like especially right to privacy, which is kind of a. This is one of the reasons I decided to run, because
I thought Republicans were in favor of privacy.
Well, in right to privacy means that they can overturn abortion.
Oh, well, that's a topic. That's like religion. I usually don't discuss those. So.
No, but that's the reason. What a lot of them want to turn it over. They can turn that right to it because of abortion.
Well, I thought that was a federal law that.
Our Montana Constitution kind of solidified privacy laws when we redid it in 1978. So if they just really want to rewrite it, there's a lot of other things they want to do. We have a lot of right-wing anti-government kind of extreme people,
right?
Who don't like clean water or roads.
Well, they better like clean water in Montana. I mean, don't the ranchers need clean water up there?
It's an interesting thing why they're opposed to it when they live in such a beautiful place. But I not quite understand some stuff that comes out of them. I'm like, what?
I went to a town in Montana. I want to say it was Lewisburg.
Lewistown,
which is the center of the United States of America. When you when you factor in Alaska.
Oh wow!
Lewistown, Montana is the center of the United States, and I stood on that little plaque. It's in the middle.
My grandmother grew up not that far from there. That was their family homestead is not that far from there, so I know Lewistown quite well.
Yeah, that was a cool little town, man. I loved it. I thought it was fabulous. So let's just touch one more time on just how important it is to talk about not only recovery from substance use disorders, but what are really the best ways to get somebody to recover compared to what's out there. There's got to be some specific. I know you mentioned Medicaid, but I always felt like empowering the people with lived experience to be in that workspace, that workforce. As well as I do how important it is for one recovering person to help another recovering person compared with business as usual. Because a lot of our systems are designed by default, I'm sure, to make a problem worse and not make it better.
Right.
And everybody knows that when you have recovering people facilitating like jail programs, and recovering people facilitating reentry, recovering people facilitating recovery living, recovery residents, sober living. You know, when you have recovery people at the table helping the other agencies make decisions, you get better outcomes. And I feel like a systemic problem nationwide is these same old systems are in place, and it's just hard to get them to change their thinking. You know, and I know you're a fierce recovery warrior. I know you advocate fiercely for recovery support services, and you have a lived experience and understanding on what Montana should and shouldn't be doing. And that's a hard push downtown at any state capital. And I think something special and unique about you is your lived experience. Now, you're new to politics, and sometimes that makes people leery, so to speak. However, how can you assure people in your district that you're not going downtown, St. Helena, that's the capital?
Helena.
Helena. And I'm from the South. We pronounce everything different.
Right.
And, you're not going down there to disrupt, what's smart and what's intelligent. You're not, you just want to disrupt some of the systemic systems that are antiquated and need changing. And you're bringing innovation. And you need to let the voters know that.
Yeah, we can say that this is a good way. We have a good beginning. Let's just see how we can make this a little bit better, or add a different voice to what we're doing. Right? I don't think, as far there's people who have lived experience in the legislature who talk about their lived experience. I mean, like I said, I know there's people who are in recovery in the legislature, but they're not like speaking about it as a point of their existence, So like you said, I'm new to running for office, but I did this for a long, and management, and worked in politics for a long time, so kind of know that part of it. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be like, here's how we can, add some language, or like bring in people who have other lived experience, so people can see, here. I mean, the people that, especially in committee meetings that I'm going to be in, I'm aware they're going to hear different voices that they haven't really heard before, or maybe haven't heard before. So it's just bringing a different. In addition,
does Montana have a high rate of substance use disorder? Is they higher than some states?
Yes. So let me tell you. So Montana actually has one of the highest mortality rates. Last year we lost, with drugs, alcohol, and suicide. We lost those people together. So we've had 1,400 suicides, count for 25 of those. And alcohol is our biggest problem. So 260 people last year, highest in 20 years, lost to alcohol addiction. It says like 80% of emergency services are involved with substance use, and it's almost 50% of people who commit suicide have alcohol in their system. So we lead the country in suicide. Like you said, it's alcohol. This is the thing with substance use. People will refer to that merely as hard drugs and not a liquid drug. But I'm definitely want to be a lot more clear with my people that that includes, this is what we're talking about. And because
alcohol is still a drug, man. Alcohol has been a drug forever.
We lead the nation in beer consumption. I think it's like 4.5 beers per person in Montana is consumed a day.
Wow.
Boy, that ain't even a good start. When I was drinking, man. But
are you talking all Montanans, or are we talking just to people who
per
are
capita? 4.5 beers per day per person, and we have a little more than 1 million people in Montana.
Wow. Well, I'm going to open up a brewery up in Montana, man. That's a good spot for a beer brewery. But the legislature
and now we have recreational marijuana there's areas they can't have it in urban areas. Now they have recreation. There's a lot of legality and
Well,
where the
adult cannabis use is a good thing, in my opinion, my assessment. So that's not even an issue for me. That'll probably cut back on alcoholism. But
I
what?
believe it will. I just think it's going to be interesting of what, and more interesting if the recreation is the funding, because it was supposed to get a prevention and mental health funding, and so what I'm more interested in is where that money is actually going to go,
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
and who it
Yeah.
goes to, and where is funding, and that's going to be my issue going up. That's great. I have no whatever cannabis. I just want to know where that is, where that's going, and who is going to get that money. Because it's like on our amendment, it said prevention, treatment, blah blah blah.
Well, that's right. You need to recover people step up and say, look,
Yeah,
where is
and
the funding?
I think that's where we can get involved and see, like, really put the the fire and see, like, it's gonna go to these places that really have
They already get funding, they
that are not funded, right?
right.
So
Well, one thing I wanted to say is, a lot of legislative bodies, they don't realize it, but when they get a recovering person in their body, that's added value to the legislators themselves, because it's almost like they have a built-in human resource department where to go when their family members or loved one needs help. So, and I see this all the time down at the General Assembly. Me and Nathan can't go down there when we don't end up trying to help a legislator's family member on the way out the door. We may not win our issues, but we're able to carry that message of hope to these folks. And any state body, it's just such a great value when you get recovery people down there that you get benefit they can't even see. So it's more than just a district benefit. It's a human cause benefit for everybody involved. And I happen to know that's going to be a huge blessing to the folks in Montana, whether they realize it or not, especially those legislators. So yeah, you're going to probably break some eggs and make an omelet, but at the same time, they will pick up on that human resource value. So
I think you're right. Jimmy just
Yeah, I was going to say, I want to get to there were two comments. Carl Kelty said, Lela, good to see you, a little earlier. And Jimmy Brooks, who ran here in Virginia in the
House
70,
I
forget what
the
district, but
but
for the House of Delegates here just last year. And also former board chair. Well, he's board member here at the McShin Foundation, right?
Jim is a past, I think, president of the
President.
board,
yeah. I
chairman of
think
the
he was
board.
president when I was there.
Yeah, chairman.
Jimmy's a good friend of the recovery. Well, he's a good friend of recovery for us, and a good member.
And I would like to point out, Jimmy run as a Republican, you run as a Democrat, so we're true to our cause. We support purple. We don't care what party you are. Because it's all recovery affects everybody, addiction affects everybody. So all parties need to be represented the way I see it. So 74th district, Jimmy just quoted.
Yeah. I want to ask you, Lela, how does the recovery community show up to advocate at your state house,
the legislature?
Well, at your legislature, do you have more? How is RAP there?
RAP has not done. This is kind of new. No one wanted to do the Recovery Advocacy Day last cycle. But
so you're the RAP face and voice, and
I had people. I mean, I went. I walked around. I had my recovery and I vote sticker on. I wear it all the time. Anyway, people look at me. A lot of people talked, but they were like, last session was just brutal. It was brutal. I can't even word, but we have already planned to set a date for the next year to set up a Recovery Advocacy Day, and we're already making those plans now so we can get people involved. And we'll see what legislation we can pull up. Definitely something with housing, picking up what you guys are doing out there, the national housing, just to get more. We don't have any regulation. Now we want to over-regulate. We just want to have.
Sure.
Right?
Well, I can tell you, it's the how so important it is to show up at the subcommittees and to really get at that almost micro level of advocacy where you're, the one-on-one relationships are the most important, and testifying and bringing in like a wall of people for some bills. And we're seeing that with Good Samaritan laws here in Virginia over the last couple of years. In fact, I mean, you probably know a little bit about that.
I knew Dylan. Yes, she was there when I was there.
Yeah. And so that's been a huge, that's been a huge thing to just show up en masse, and show, why it's so important. And we've actually, we had Delegate Mullen, who we interviewed yesterday. We'll put that out in a couple days. We'll put that out today. He actually changed his vote, from voting against our, what we think is best to voting for the legislation. And that was simply
Wow.
because of people like John and a whole wall of people in recovery saying, no, 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 we need this to save lives, and this is why this is important. And so, I believe so much in the power of the one-on-one, showing up and testifying, writing those written, those written testimonials when you can't show up, doing the Zoom. We have all these different ways that we can participate in the legislature, the legislative process, and it's so important for us in recovery to do that. And so, what I love about John, my story a little bit. I found my recovery through a McShin program in a jail, and to be able to discover my voice through McShin, and now to be able to grab somebody who's been here a week and say, all right, we're going to which we did Friday. I grabbed my coachee, and we said, we're going up there and we're going to go talk about why this residue bill needs to pass, and why we need to defelonize or reclassify, simple possession charges here in Virginia. The bill didn't have a chance in hell. We knew that, but we went and we said our piece and we talked to them. And I actually threw out all my comments, and I completely threw out what I wrote, and I just spoke. And, I looked at every one of those people I knew was going to vote against me right in the eye. And I said, if you're going to vote against me, I'm going to stare you down when you do it. And that was pretty powerful for me. And I think it was, the participant who went with me, seemed to have a really strong effect on that person too, which, hopefully he'll be the next person, and then the next person after that. And so this is why I love being here. This is why I love what John and Carol have done over the last almost 18 years now, right? Wow, you
Yeah.
guys we're almost old enough to vote here.
Yeah.
Oh, woo!
A few more years, we can smoke cigarettes.
Woo, and pot.
Cannabis.
Oh, I'm going to get in trouble. But anyway, I wanted to say that, because and a lot of the tools, we just having access, you know how it is. You go to the Virginia General Assembly, and you mentioned McShin, and most people want to listen. Some people run, but most people want to listen because they all know John and they know the McShin Foundation.
They don't want to mess with John.
Well, it's funny. You're right about that, and that's an awesome tool to have. And now with the Recovery Advocacy Project and some of the other organizations that we participate with, we have this big giant toolbox. The Action Network that we have through RAP, that whole system, which I'm just figuring out, is an amazing tool. It's an absolutely amazing tool to get word out, to get letters written like that. And so
Right.
I hope that you have a team building over the next couple of years. I'd like to see some change out there. I'd love to come out. I would love to come out to Montana.
I know.
Big sky.
I've already. I think Ryan's already said he's coming out sometime in the summer.
Well, Ryan just like to shoot guns, so make sure you line him up with one of your rancher buddies.
So do I.
Got some AR-15.
Fine.
Yeah, he likes that. Hey,
I'll knock on some doors. We'll shake him to a ring.
Yeah. Ryan got a little Republican in him, whether he knows it or not. Man, he does like them guns.
That's surprising, and I'm really happy to hear that.
Oh, he don't talk about everything, but I know stuff about him. He don't even realize. But hey, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
A lot of all our videos go out into correction programs across the nation.
Yeah.
We're in like 40 different jails or prisons. And we get like 1 million views a year on these. So
wow.
if you were in an H&I meeting inside of a correctional facility, what would be your 2-minute hope shot you give these folks?
I was saying that recovery can happen for everyone. I mean, my experience isn't in jails, but a lot of my friends have served, and like everything gets better as we're in recovery. I just looks different. What
are some recommendations? What do you tell them to do?
I go to meetings, like get a sponsor. I hate this stuff, but also get involved in your community, right? Because one of the things that recovery has taught me is to not just stay in a room of other people who are in recovery, but actually use the stuff that I've learned in those rooms and make the world a better place. Like take all the stuff the crap that I ever did against the world. I'm like, regaining that. It doesn't like, I'm like trying to make it a better place. This is the service that I do. And
Well,
so
find
that's
your
what
purpose, get involved, do something positive.
yeah, be of service and of whatever. Like if you find a passion and be of service to it, that's my thing in life in general is like find a passion and be of service. They can be the same thing. So
Absolutely. Well, anything else, Nathan, you can think of? Closing thoughts? Lela, closing thoughts?
no, you guys can, you can check out the website. It's just lelagraham.com. If you want to contribute, there's a donate button on there.
Up to $400, right?
Up to $400 per person. We just ordered lit. We're just gonna start knocking on doors this weekend and just like win this thing.
What's the temperature up there?
Right now, hold on. It's probably like 20. Let me check.
Woo.
It's been warm the last couple days. It's pretty warm.
Anything above 20 in Montana is golfing weather.
It is 25. So that's actually the thing that's when it's 25 or above, I'm knocking on doors. That's the rule of thumb for me.
Right,
and we won't really hit above 50 consistently until like mid-April.
Right.
So
good. Well, you got plenty of time. You ought to be able to hit every door in your district.
A few times.
Right. Well, anyway,
I'm going to go through a lot of shoes.
Yeah, we're going to hit it, man. I'm so proud of you. I love you, and
I love you too, John.
And I wish
I have
you
to
well.
say that John, I don't think John knows this. He kind of said something to me, asked me where I was from one time and told him I was Montana. And I don't know if you remember that, John. John's like, maybe you should think about going back there because I wasn't doing well. And he probably sensed, and he wasn't, he didn't say like, get the hell out of Virginia, but all I heard was, John, maybe think about going back there. And I left, treatment, and I said, Mom, John told me I had to go back to Montana.
Well, you were homesick. I could clearly see that. You know what I mean? You were like a duck out of water. I knew where your water come from.
But I was saying, like, John's very instrumental, unbeknownstly to him, for me to move back to Montana and help me save my life. So,
well, I can also say when we did that training up in Montana, you showed up in the training. I felt like, I feel like I'm at home now. So you brought that warm, fuzzy feeling to the training. I appreciate that. That meant a lot to me.
John.
So thanks.
I'm grateful for McShin and you and everyone there.
Good.
All right. Thank you so much.
Well, we wish you well. Good luck. We love you.
Thank you, Lela.
Thank
you for everybody watching, listening. We'll take care. We'll see you the next time. Get in the herd.